Good morning, and welcome to the Wolverine Caucus. And we're delighted that you're here with us today, and feel free to continue to enjoy lunch. If you'd like seconds and thirds, that would be great. So again, we want to thank Michigan Government Television for filming today, and this program will be aired over the coming months. And we want to thank for the generous support of the Michigan Alumni Association and the Office of the Vice President for Government Relations. And Craig Ruff and I of the Wolverine Caucus welcome you today for this very exciting topic as we talk about the new Mott at the University of Michigan. Many wonderful stories to share about all that they do for the children and the women of the state of Michigan and from everywhere that people come to learn about and to be recipients of their great care. So without further ado, I want to introduce the gentleman who will introduce our speakers today. Major Brian Rooney, Esquire, who will soon be Lieutenant Colonel Brian Rooney, has recently been appointed by Governor Rick Snyder to help reform welfare in the state of Michigan. And Brian is in charge of policy and compliance within the Department of Human Services, and that is no mean feat, as we know. Brian hails from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He is an attorney, receiving his law degree from the Florida State University. And he's part of the Marine Corps Air Station. He has served time in Iraq, and we certainly honor you today, Lieutenant Colonel Brian Rooney. Thank you for joining us. Please come forward.
Well, thank you. I haven't been promoted yet, so still major. But I appreciate that introduction, and I appreciate the fact that I was invited to introduce two individuals that are instrumental in Mott Children's Hospital. I want to give a little bit about my background other than my professional background. As was stated earlier, I work at the Department of Human Services, but I'm here really today because of my personal story and wanting to be a part of Mott and help Mott in any way I can. I have a son named Blaze. He's 3 years old, and at the 20-week ultrasound we found out he had a congenital heart defect, and this was a little over 3 years obviously ago. And we were at St. Joe's at the time in Ypsi, and they told us you need to go to Mott Children's Hospital to take care of your prenatal needs and then your baby's needs afterwards. And having two other children, we only ever experienced good outcomes with our children. So to have a doctor tell you that your baby's going to need at least one open heart surgery, you go searching through the internet and some other periodicals and those sorts of things to try to find out where the best place in the world for your child is to get the surgery that he or she needs. And we didn't have to look too far, thank God, that we found Mott in our backyard. 20 minutes away from where we lived, was one of the best in the country, if not the world, for congenital heart defects. So after my son was born, he had his first surgery, and his first surgery went relatively well, although since he was premature and so young, he had a brain bleed which caused a cardiac arrest and seizures. He ended up having 2 brain surgeries after that, and then because of hydrocephalus, and ultimately he had a total of 3 open heart surgeries and a bonus stomach surgery because he had pyloric stenosis on top of it. So we did all those procedures and operations and those sorts of things at Mott, the old Mott. And it was clear that the doctors, the nurses, the techs, everybody, the social workers at Mott, the old Mott, were the best in the world, top flight. But the facility wasn't top flight. We were at the PCTU, where the congenital heart kids go, their ICU. We had 15 beds, and it was very cramped up there. In some ways it was good, but when you're there for a long period of time, and me and my wife were there for months, it gets a little cramped. And so when they were building the new hospital and designing it, they actually talked to a lot of the parents, talked to us, and got some of the ideas of what we would like to see as parents. because you have a different perspective than even the nurses or doctors do. And so the new Mott reflects that, and I'm sure that that'll be talked about later. And because my son still has periodic seizures, we still have to use Mott. And I can tell you the difference between going to a regular emergency room versus a children's emergency room at Mott is night and day. It's really the care that my son gets now if we have to go to the emergency room at Mott for the emergency services it's so much better because it's focused on children and it's focused just on children issues. And you know, simple things just to get blood from a young child when you're at a regular emergency room is very difficult and very stressful on parents and your child. When you go to an emergency room for children, they know what they're doing, the nurses are practiced in that sort of thing, and it's a lot easier for the children and for the parents. So now me and my wife are dedicated to Mott, and we're dedicated to trying to help Mott in every which way we can. I originally moved to Michigan back in 2006 after I was active duty for 8 years in the Marine Corps for a job. But after my experiences at Mott and thinking about those sorts of things, ironic because right before we found out about the 20-week ultrasound, we were thinking of moving out of state because my folks are snowbirds between Florida and Pennsylvania, and my wife's people are from Florida as well, and so we wanted to get closer to family. But with our experience with our son at Mott, we didn't want to leave the Mott kind of circle of influence, and we developed our own family here, and so we're happy to be here in the Ann Arbor area in Michigan because we feel safe here, and we feel safe here because of Mott. I'd like to introduce two individuals to talk more about Mott and Van Voigtlander Women's Hospital. And again, I want to stress that my son and my family, did the whole gamut of the children's hospital. It wasn't just the heart, it was the brain, it was the stomach, and it continues to be neurology and those sorts of things. So when we think of a one-stop service center for children's needs, and typically when you have a child, I'm sure doctor and nurse can talk about this if they want to, is that it's not just one thing, it's multiple things. And so when you have a child with a congenital heart defect and hydrocephalus, you don't want to have to go to two different hospitals or try to find a different place. And when you have a one-stop place that you're assured that the heart surgeon is just as good as the brain surgeon, then that gives you a lot of comfort. And knowing that Mott is here in Michigan gives us a lot of comfort, but it also is a great asset and really it's literally a shining hospital on a hill that people from all over the world, all over the country come to get care at Mott. Some of our good friends of spending time at Mott, the much time we did, were from out of state. And we need to foster that and continue that so that we continue to have one of the best institutions in the world right here in Michigan. I'm privileged to introduce you to two individuals who have been instrumental in the establishment of C.S. Mott Children's and Women's Hospital. Both of these individuals have rich and distinguished careers, and both will share aspects of their clinical outreach and the ways in which this new facility will continue to innovate and transform the future of children's medicine and women's pregnancy and childbirth care. I know Dr. Chris Dickinson a little bit. We've gotten to know each other over the last several months. On April 5th of 2012, Dr. Chris was appointed as the Interim Executive Director for the University of Michigan, C.S. Mott Children's and Van Voigtlander Women's Hospital. Dr. Dickinson has been deeply involved in safety and quality initiatives throughout the entire health system since becoming Associate Chief. In his new role, he will continue to focus on and achieve new safety and quality standards in the new C.S. Mott Children's Hospital and Van Voigtlander Women's Hospital. Dr. Dickinson is a graduate of Wayne State University, where he received a BA in chemistry and MD degree in 1981. He completed his general pediatric residency at Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital in Cleveland, Ohio. As a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I won't hold that against you if you're a Browns fan. In 1984, he began pediatric gastroenterology fellowship program at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And Dr. Dickinson became a faculty member in the Department of Pediatrics in July of 1986 and continued to serve as Chief Pediatric Gastroenterology from, I mangled that word, gastroenterology, from July 1999 to June 2001. Loree Collett is an Associate Hospital Director for C.S. Mott Children's and Van Voigtlander Women's Hospital. In this role, she is the lead for all children's and women's services and provides strategic direction, administrative and operational leadership to multiple services, functions, and hospital settings. She came to Mott Hospital in 1987, beginning her pediatric nursing career in the pediatric intensive care unit. Ms. Collett's interest in leadership brought her to the pediatric post-anesthesia care unit and pediatric operating rooms, where she was the clinical nurse manager. In 2003, she accepted the role of Interim Director of Nursing for Pediatrics, Perinatal, and Psychiatric Services. Loree joined the Children's and Women's Replacement Hospital Project as an Associate Hospital Administrator in 2004. In this role, Ms. Collett led the design, operational, and activation plans for the 754 million Children's and Women's Hospital Replacement Project in December 4th, 2012. And she holds a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from the University of Toledo and a Master's of Science in Business from Madonna University. And I'll just say one thing about doctors and nurses. You know, when you spend so much time at Mott Children's Hospital, you get to know them very, very well. And me and my family have gotten to know the doctors and nurses intimately well. And I would say, are friends with them and have them over our house for my son's birthdays and hang out with them every once in a while. And if not for, you know, it's clear what the doctors do. You know, they either mend your child or help the care. But if it wasn't for the nurses, you know, my mental health and my child's health, I know, would not be there. And the nurses really are what makes everything move at the hospital. They're the consistency that you have there for your child's care, and I can't say enough about nurses and everybody that is involved in taking care of children. It isn't just, you know, the superstar doctors, which are great and are needed, but it's the superstar nurses and the respiratory care folks and those sorts of things. So it's really a team effort there, and everybody's vitally important there. So without further ado, I'll introduce Dr. Chris.
Well, all I can say is wow to that. Your personal story, I think, tells everything we like to talk about, Mott. And being married to a nurse who works at the University of Michigan, and my son's a nurse at the University of Michigan, and my daughter-in-law is a nurse in the PCTU now. They all tell me about how important nurses are, so I couldn't agree with you more. So I'm going to have to stand over here, I think, in order to move these slides. So here's the University of Michigan Health System. You can see the diagram up here of the picture of it. This, here's the arrow. That's the new Mott Children's Hospital there. This is the University Hospital. Coming across here, Cancer Geriatrics Center, and these are med school buildings and science buildings. So this is the whole University of Michigan Health System campus. It's quite big. A lot of our patients that come from outstate areas, they often get confused when they come in here. And we have to settle them down. They say, oh my God, this place is bigger. They have more people working here than we have in our hometown. And we go, yeah, that's probably true, but part of the reason it exists like this is for all the reasons that Brian mentioned, which is to have a whole team of experts from a variety of different fields. It's just not one thing we're going to treat at this hospital.
Hey Chris, either your mic is not on or that mic doesn't work. That mic is just...
So this is the mic he wants for...
Oh, that's just your mic here. Okay, sorry about that.
How about if I do... How about if I do this? That might work. That's right. Figure out. Thank you. Ay, ay, ay. All right. Well done. Well done. So here's our organizational structure. We're all part of the University of Michigan, so we do report to the Regents of the University of Michigan ultimately. Mary Sue Coleman, who many of you know, is our President and Executive Officer. And then we have a health system Executive Vice President for Medical Affairs, who's Ora Peskovich. She's a pediatrician as well. We like to have pediatricians in leadership areas in the health system. And then we have Doug Strong's our CEO. Jim Williscroft is the Dean of the Medical School.